Isle of Dogs is directed by Wes Anderson. It stars Bryan Cranston, Scarlett Johansson, Jeff Goldblum. The list goes on and on, like all
Wes
of his
Anderson
other movies.
players.
Exactly, with Bryan Cranston being the newcomer and mostly the main character. And this movie is about, it takes place in Japan, and there's a disease that's run rampant with dogs, so they put all the dogs on one island, and then a boy goes to find his dog, meeting lots of different colorful cast of characters that all play dogs in this movie. So here we are. We did all of Wes Anderson movies, and this one he's back to animation again. And you and I both love Fantastic Mr. Fox. So what do you think? Does he do it again?
Well, when we reviewed Fantastic Mr. Fox last month, one of the things we both talked about, one of our big talking points was the animation, the stop motion animation, what he could do with it, just all the detail and, all the little just neat things that he was able to do with it. He took what he did in Fantastic Mr. Fox and took it to a whole another level with this one. Like all the detail we praised about in Fantastic Mr. Fox kicked up to 12 on this one because there's people and backgrounds, there's these massive crowds and everybody's interacting and everything. It's just this movie really was a feast for the eyes, not only for the stop motion animation, but just once again these elaborate sets that he has. There is this set in a junkyard where it's all like bottles of different colors, and there's a light from outside like illuminating it, and I was like just blown away by some of the visuals in this movie. How'd you feel about the animation?
Yeah, not only did to say I enjoyed every frame of this movie would be an understatement. I relished in every frame of this movie. You're absolutely right. It is one of the most beautiful films I've seen in recent memory. And yes, he takes the animation up a notch, which I really like that he switched the animation up a little bit, not only with the stop motion animation and the details in this, but also he goes to flat animation in certain situations as well, which was really cool.
Yeah, when somebody's watching a TV screen, it's 2D classic animation.
Like security cameras.
Yeah, and I thought that just having that on screen while you have stop motion going on all around, it's just, once again, just very impressed by the technical aspects of this movie. And, as far as the storytelling aspects, it's Wes Anderson. You got family drama, you got some really funny moments, you got some awkward moments, you got some really, heartfelt moments. As far as the emotional beats, it's just Wes Anderson doing what he does.
Yeah, and doing it top notch. I felt so many different things in this movie.
For dogs.
For dogs.
For stop motion animated dogs. It drove that emotion.
I mean, to get that emotion across, to get the emotion across of what these dogs are thinking, what they're feeling, what they're saying, their facial expressions are crazy how detailed they are. They don't have to say much to show what they're feeling, which once again goes to the animation, how great it is. But man, I felt things in this movie, especially they do this thing where you understand this side of dogs as if they were human. You understand what a stray dog acts like and why he does the decisions he does. It's just, they really delve deep into relating dog emotions with human emotions, and I think they did that perfectly.
Yeah, there are these conversations between the dogs that you could find in any other Wes Anderson movie between two people, but it's between two dogs, and you connect. Those emotional strings, they all come together.
Yeah.
And I was not only impressed with just, all the detail with the animation and Wes Anderson's direction. Once again, he just gets all the best actors to come out, and even people, you got Oscar winners who have 3 lines in this movie.
Yeah.
And he gets all the best performances out of them. I can't even really pick a favorite. But I love that Bryan Cranston, the newcomer, I thought he held his own against, these regular Wes Anderson players.
Yeah.
And, the guy he's collaborated with, recently, kind of a newcomer to Wes Anderson, Edward Norton, as I think Duke was his character's name. But he's just awesome. Goldblum, Bill Murray, I can go on about this cast, but I think Cranston and Norton were the standouts. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that, once again, with Wes Anderson's pacing, he hits it perfectly. I think animation is his sweet spot for pacing. Never did I feel a lull. It changes the locations enough for me. It changed the scenery enough for me. Never was there not a beautiful shot to look at. I just think the pacing for me was absolutely outstanding in this film. What about you? Do you feel like it slowed down at all?
I feel at a few spots it did. They kind of separate this movie into segments or chapters, and I feel like once we started a new chapter, we kind of had just a little bit of a lull. Not too much where it wore on me and I felt like the film was slowing down.
Yeah.
And even if I did feel like that, I was just distracted by just how beautiful every shot was, how well constructed it was. So even if there were those few pacing lulls for me personally, I still can forgive it because it just gave me more to look at.
Yeah, and I think that for me, there's a central group that starts this journey. And about halfway through the movie, it sort of consolidates down to Bryan Cranston's character of the dog and the kid. And it sort of goes just to those two. I could have used a little bit more of the group dynamic, because I really enjoyed when they were all together. I mean, it does, like, follow up with it and everything. You get them again, but it's sort of... But I think for the sake of the story, once again, I'm going to forgive it, because that's when the emotion really comes out, and it really shows the connection that's forming between this boy and this dog. And man, it just gave me the feels about having a pet and what they do for you, and what, you know, how loyal they are and what loyalty is. And this movie spoke to me, and I think it'll speak to anyone that's an animal lover. And I think it's one of the greatest dog-oriented movies ever made.
If you're a dog lover, if you're an animal lover, if you have pets that you love, you will connect with this movie regardless of whether it's a dog or not. And there's one little bit of dialogue where they talk about the importance of this boy. Like, the dogs have been here for a while. This is the first kid to come back to get his dog. Like, we have to help him. That kind of situation where it's just like, I would totally be that kid. You know, if I was 12 years old, I'd be going to that island, doing whatever I could to get my dog back. And I love what Wes Anderson did with translating dialogue, because this takes place in Japan, and when somebody's speaking Japanese, unless there's somebody off screen, you know, translating for them, there's no subtitles, which I love, because I feel like sometimes subtitles can distract from what you're trying to, you know, it's a visual storytelling, and subtitles can be distracting. So I'm glad that he got rid of those, and not everything is translated, which I love, because sometimes it's just about the emotion, and it's funny. It kind of highlights how there are these scenes in movies where all this inconsequential, who gives a shit kind of dialogue, and he just goes away with it by not translating what these characters are saying.
I was slightly nervous going in, because I was like, we haven't seen a lot from Wes Anderson. Can he do wrong? No, he cannot. He cannot
with
do
this
wrong.
one, I mean, as we said when we started this whole series, you know, going back to January when we went through all the Wes Anderson movies, we said the man doesn't make a bad movie. His movies range from good to amazing, and I think this one's a little bit higher up on the scale, but once again, he doesn't disappoint. He gives you the feels, he makes you laugh, and you're walking out of the theater smiling.
Buffs. All right, after a long run of seeing all Wes Anderson's movies, we finally get to see his latest. Dennis, put a score to it.
Yeah, Wes Anderson really outdid himself. I mean, if I was impressed by what he did with Fantastic Mr. Fox and the stop motion animation, that I was blown away with this one. So I'm going to give Isle of Dogs a 9.5 out of 10. Almost the perfect score. But man, was this great.
Yeah, this was fantastic. We can't describe how gorgeous this movie is. Our words just can't really say. You can't do justice. Can't do justice. You have to experience this movie. For me, I'm nothing but fully pleased. I'm going 10 out of 10. Wow. I love this movie. This is easily, hands down, my favorite movie this year so far. And I think it's easily an Oscar contender for Best Animated Feature for the Oscars to come. I think this movie was absolutely blew me away. Buffs. Okay, so that's our review of Isle of Dogs. Have you seen the movie? Do you plan on seeing it? What do you think of Wes Anderson and his animation style? Leave all your comments down below.
Join us next week when we review Super Troopers 2, which is it's kind of like our pit stop on our way to Infinity War in a couple weeks. But we'll give you that review next Friday, but until then, don't forget,
watch more movies.